Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Huseman, and we are here for our first episode of 2026 of our Hot Topic Sound Off. So welcome, everybody.
Well, and we had a little bit of a delay, not quite as much as the Clash is going to be delayed, unfortunately, but...
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
The Clash, if you haven't heard already, is they moved it to Monday from Sunday, and then Monday didn't work out, and now it's scheduled for Wednesday, February the 4th, and it will start with the practice and qualifying, which is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time live on the Fox Sports app. And then beginning with the last chance qualifier, which starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time live on Fox. And then the Cookout Clash will start at 6 p.m. live on Fox. MRN, SiriusXM, NASCAR Radio will also be covering the Clash itself. There are 36 charter teams that are entered, plus 2 additional teams. And I know Burt Meyer is in the number 50, Chad Fincham in the number 66. Corey LaJoy will sub for Brad Keselowski, and there will be 23 drivers who will compete in the feature event. Now, I don't know, are they back to doing the heat races now, or are they just going to take the top 20 in qualifying?
From what I understood of, once they moved it off Saturday, that the heat races were gone. That's unfortunate. Obviously, the situation is unfortunate. But yeah, my understanding was once they went to a one-day show of Sunday, Monday, or Wednesday, that then it was going to be just qualifying, top, whatever you said, if it was 20 off qualifying only. Then the LCQ of however many they're going to take from that of 3.
Two from the LCQ and then 1 for the...
Oh, yeah, and then the 1 guaranteed, you're right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, it's pretty much going to be based off of qualifying. So you got to qualify well. If not, you got to run that hooligan race. I just got to say, it's one of those of NASCAR is doing the best, and in conjunction with the community there, obviously this is very much involved in the community. They got some issues of their own going on, so try to be understanding of that.
Yes, please try to be understanding. Now, I want to just mention too that HBO Max will probably have the driver views that we became familiar with last year. So if you like the driver views, you can watch that on HBO Max.
Okay. I'm not a streamer type person, so I didn't even know that was available. But if you are into that, certainly by all means.
All right. I thought, Jay, maybe we'd start out with some of the more recent storylines, and then we'll kind of catch up with some of the off-season hot topics. I know one of the big storylines that came out here recently, and I want to give our condolences to all the family and friends of Greg Biffle and his family. But they came out with the preliminary report from the NTSB. Have you had a chance to read that over, Jay?
I did I would say kind of skimmed over it. I know they said that Biffle was not the pilot. However, neither one of them were qualified to be a co-pilot, which they should have had.
Yes.
And I get it. Again, we all have done things that we didn't fully follow, and I'm sure they've done it 1,000,001 times. I'm kind of waiting to hear, because from what I've read on it, that they made the call that they were having problems. There was an electrical or something where there was indications of it, and got turned around and almost made it back to the airport. So, again, it's tough to say when you read one article or that individual's opinion on it of, would a co-pilot have made the difference? we don't know, but it's just unfortunate, all the way around. As well as, and I don't want to go into the details of it, there were some issues after his passing that just blow my mind, of his house being broken into.
Yes, that
That's
is.
even sadder.
It is. It just really upsets me. But you're right. That's uh, really not. I don't want to get into that either because it's such a horrible thing. But they did say that there were no engine issues. That all the engines were working properly, and it was all that electrical problem.
Yeah, and even being in the air traffic world, not necessarily from the pilot side, there's always so many different things, and yeah, that's one of those of, if it was an electrical malfunction, I don't know what kind of capability that restricts. Then I wouldn't have known that plane required the co-pilot. I know they're both certified pilots, but neither one of them were on that particular plane.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of, again, just a sad situation, unfortunately. Greg Biffle doing, especially during the hurricane, but as a whole, was such a humanitarian.
He was, and that's the main thing. And along with that story is that the Biffle family did announce that they are starting the Biffle Family Legacy Impact Fund. And I think that's a really great thing that they're doing there. So they're establishing that in partnership with the Foundation for the Carolinas to support communities and individuals in need through intentional and compassionate giving. So that is so representative of what Greg Biffle did, especially during the hurricanes in the Carolinas, where he went above and beyond and really helped a lot of families.
And that tells you about the whole family, the fact of it, that's with his estate, what the money is going to go for. And I didn't remember the name, but I knew it was a community foundation that was already in place. The two of them joining up with what his estate just tells you what that whole family is, and really believed in who Greg Biffle was and what he was doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, are there any other news stories that you wanted to make sure that we touched on? But before we move on, I do want to just say our condolences to all of the family members and friends who feel the loss of Greg Biffle, and that includes a lot of the fans.
Yeah, the Kevin Harvick happy hour, they covered three of them. Michael Annett was a driver that lost his life throughout the off season. And I cannot think of the crew member from, at the time, was Stuart Haas. I can't remember his name. I know it was a crewman that Kevin Harvick had worked with.
Right. I can't remember his name either.
But so there were a couple from the NASCAR community that we did lose, and our thoughts go out to all of them. Obviously, Greg Biffle and then Michael Annett kind of got the most attention.
Mm-hmm. And then Kathy Elliott, the beloved wife, mother, and grandmother and friend, passed away on January 21st at the age of 65. That seems really young to me now.
Yep.
But she's survived by John Elliott, her children, Patrick and Maggie, their grandchildren. Kathy, I wanted to see. Raised in Stumpy Point, North Carolina, and preceded in death by her parents, Roger and Wanda Best. So Jayskis is so good about keeping everybody informed of NASCAR folks that have passed away. I thought she might have been related.
Yeah, no, that one I knew wasn't one of the Chase Elliott lineage family, but unfortunately, there was another one I'd forgotten about that they did cover, and that was Denny Hamlin's father. There was a fire. Yes. His father passed. His mother is doing better in recovery. She had been in the hospital since.
Yes.
I know they updated that one as well.
Another tragic situation. that happened during the off season. And again, our condolences go out to Denny Hamlin and his family for their loss, because that was huge. And I know they said, I'm not sure, is he racing in the Clash? At one point, they were saying he wasn't sure he was ready.
Yeah, and I saw a short clip of an interview with it, and then the article that quoted him from it. But that, yeah, he had considered not, but he also knew that, that was what his dad would want. Just like when Dale Earnhardt passed, of RCR going through that as an organization, to know that's what the individual would want.
Yes.
So yeah, I do believe he has intention of continuing to race, at least through what his contract is.
And I'm sure he's racing with a very heavy heart.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
So that's some of the more recent stories that we have on tap here. Do you want to get into some of the off-season hot topics?
All right. Yeah, I feel like you're setting me up there for that one. I'm not going to jump up and down here, but
I know.
The lawsuit did come to a settlement, and an agreed upon settlement between the two parties, and there were some repercussion outcomes from that. So again, the lawsuit was settled. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports got their charters back. All charters became what they're calling evergreen. My understanding, that means permanent. I don't know why they brought the word evergreen in, and then Steve Phelps stepped down from NASCAR with the big three there that we had up as far as that. If you got something else from it you want to chat about, please jump on. I don't see anybody on the chat right now, but
there's one person.
Somebody watching? All right.
Yeah, I will say, we want to encourage everybody to participate. This is an interactive program. And if you have a thought that you want to share in the live chat, we would welcome that and encourage that. But right now we are talking about the lawsuit between NASCAR and 2311. And
did you want me to go first and talk my side of it a little bit, or did you want to go first?
Well,
what you want to do?
I think what I'll do is I'll tell you what my thoughts are. I think that it's a very positive thing that they finally did decide to come to a settlement. And I know that everybody had to have a little bit of compromise there, but it seems to me that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports got what they were looking for from the pursuit of the lawsuit. I will say that NASCAR, I do think that there's going to be some unintended consequences. We talked about how much more the charters are going to be worth now that they are permanent charters. And for the teams that have those charters, the higher price is going to be a positive thing. As far as other teams coming in to NASCAR, new teams coming in, I think it's going to be more difficult. And I think it's going to change the landscape of the teams, the new teams that are coming in. I think they're going to be more of multi-investors that would be able to afford a $150,000 charter or $150 million charter. So I think it's going to change the landscape of NASCAR in the future. I do think that there's going to be some unintended consequences that come out of this. And I can't speak to exactly what that's going to be, but I know that unintended consequences are just part of what happens when you move in one direction, no matter what that direction is. I know that sometimes there are unintended consequences. So I do think that in this case, we are going to see some unintended consequences as it relates to especially new teams that are coming in, and the fact that it is going to change I think, the landscape of what NASCAR looks like. It's not going to be the NASCAR that we know it to be today or of the yesterday, but that's part of what progress, I guess, is all about.
Well, just on that aspect, I'll jump in here of that. I understand what 2311 in front, what we're looking for. I understand the team owner side of looking for that more of a return, but I think the top ones were already guaranteed that NASCAR wasn't just going to walk up and say, we don't like you, we're going to take it away.
No.
I like you said, of the unintended consequences, as I see it, you're limiting the growth of new teams. As you said, for them to come in, they're going to want a charter that's now going to cost 150, is the number we've heard thrown out, that we haven't seen any sold yet under this new agreement. So that's one aspect of it. You've basically locked in, no questions asked, these 36 teams, which then they don't even have to sell them. They can pass them on to their grandkids, family down the line, which again, I understand that aspect from the owner's side. I do. I just think there was a way that could have been done without locking them in like that. I don't know where the rule falls as far as it used to be. If you were in the bottom three for 3 consecutive years, NASCAR could take it. And they hadn't done, which I think was a mistake on NASCAR's part, but they hadn't actually even exercised that. So that's where I didn't understand the fear of losing them. Now, with them pairing up and being parallel with the television negotiation rights, again, I go back to that puts NASCAR in a jam. If they don't get let's just say they don't even get any kind of television agreement in 7 years or whatever it is, they're still now responsible, though, for covering what they agreed to with the permanent charters. That's where I don't agree with that either. NASCAR has no way of knowing what the future holds, but they're guaranteeing ownership future. And I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, and I agree with everything that you said there. I do think that it's a good thing, though, that they settled. I would have hated to see this thing go on for years and years and years, because that's where I think it was headed. Is that if one side, whichever side lost, there would be a countersuit or a appeal, and it would just go into years with this. So I'm glad they came to an agreement. I'm glad that everybody seemed to be happy with the agreement that was reached. The details were not disclosed, so we don't know exactly all of the details. I'll put it that way, because we do know some of the details, but not all of the details. But I'm sure it cost NASCAR quite a bit of money for this.
That was the other part. Was I do believe there was an amount, which again is unknown. There were some estimates or guesses as to what NASCAR was going to have to pay back for having taken them away during the time period that they were open teams. I think that was in there. Again, we don't have the official documented amount.
Yes, we don't. But I think it's good that we're moving on, and we can kind of put that in the rear view mirror at this point. And then, we'll see how it plays out, because we won't really know if it's how good it is or otherwise, unless we won't really know what the consequences are of everything until it plays out over a period of time.
Right.
So anyway, anything more you wanted to say there, Jay?
Well, one of the consequences, which has already happened, is Steve Phelps stepping down.
Yes.
And again, if you're not familiar, he made some comments in an email or text message that were brought out in, right? Yeah. Again, they were not public, but he did make them about Richard Childress. And was he in the wrong? Absolutely. But I will be the first to admit off camera, I've said some things that I wouldn't want public, and that doesn't make it right. The thing that bothers me is everything that Steve Phelps has done has kind of gotten wiped away. And I don't
Yeah.
think people realize how much in the new TV negotiations, what was it? I think the street course, I believe he was a big part of that, you know. So I think there is going to be a loss there. And I'm not saying somebody else can't step into that role, but I do think he was doing a good job from that aspect.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate consequence here because Steve Phelps was good for NASCAR. He did a lot of really great things. And he is one of the people, what's ironic about it is he was one of the people that was trying to convince the group, NASCAR group, that it would be in their best interest to go for the permanent charters. And then he ends up being the guy who gets who steps away after all is said and done. These were private text messages that were sent that were made public as a part of the disclosure process of the lawsuit. And they were derogatory remarks that were made. And you're right, we don't condone it. But again, those were said in private, and who amongst us have said those kind of things privately and not expecting them to become public and knowledge for everyone to know. So I think it'll cause all of us to second guess that kind of activity and try not to make those comments in private even. So, but you are absolutely right. Steve Phelps was very good for NASCAR. He did a lot of really good things for the NASCAR itself, but for the fans and for the drivers, for everybody all the way around. And you and I've talked about it before. Anytime you go into negotiations for any kind of a contract recontracting or contract negotiation, there's give and take. And so, NASCAR had just made up their mind that they weren't going to give on that one. And in the long run, they probably would have come out a lot better had they given in the beginning.
Well, it's from my understanding and perspective of they ended up that way anyway. Again, of like you said, kind of got put in that position based on some of the things. It was better that they negotiated it with the other party than the judge ultimately ruling. And from that aspect of it, I know you said it again. Am I glad the lawsuit itself is done? Yes. Let's go racing. However, I don't see the true winners out of it. I really don't. No. I didn't from the beginning, but that's my opinion on it. Like I said, I'm not in favor of guaranteed. I understand if you pay more to certain monies, they've always had what they call the winner's circle, or the 36 teams that do show up every week receiving more money. I'm okay with that, but I think it could have been done in a different way rather than locking out and encouraging. Right now, I don't see any encouragement for a new team to come about. I just don't.
That's the problem. There's no encouragement. And the only ones that will be able to come in, like I say, are going to be big time investors, and it's going to be multiple investors for the teams. And they may or may not know anything at all about NASCAR. They're just investing and trying to hire the right people.
And I don't want to go a whole lot more on this, but I mean, look at it that's where it was coming from was Michael Jordan. I mean, a multi-millionaire. I don't know if he's in the billionaire club or not, but I mean, has the money. And I'm not saying he doesn't know anything about racing.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
He is not a racer, if you will. So, yeah, Pitbull was involved with Justin Marks, and that deal went south. And we've seen it in the past of that. And you're right. I'm trying to think of, look at, was it Roush Fenway now does have Keselowski? That's already been happening just as the entire cost has gone up.
Well, and I know RCR has investors as well.
Not yet. That was one of the things that came out that shouldn't have, that there was talks of it, and that was supposed to be private as well.
Yes, you're right. All right. I think was there anything more you wanted to say on that?
No, not at all. I want it to go away completely now.
Yeah, I'm just as glad to have it over with. Okay, now what about the playoff to the chase? What are your thoughts there, Jay?
With all the uproar that had come for whatever reason of changing back to a lot of people were hollering for the old 36 race point system. I know, Sharon, you and I both agree we didn't want to see it go that route, although some other racing series throughout the country on the dirt side have. I think the chase, the 10 races, is a good compromise. Again, they did away with the win and you're in. Whether I agree with it or not, that was an acceptable compromise. You have 16 drivers. They'll reset in points. You're awarded more points for a win, but it's not a guarantee to move on at all. And it's the 10 race stretch. And I'm okay with that. I was never in favor of the one race winner take all. I was more in the neighborhood of the 3 to 4 if you were staying with the older win and you're in format. The chase itself, I was okay with when they had it back from 2002, 2003 to 2014, I believe, if I have those dates right. I still fear, like you do, Sharon, I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but we may see a runaway where your champion is known with a race or two to go, which was an issue with the old point system. But I understand that old school mentality of, if you ran consistent all year, to be rewarded for that and not have one little thing in one race ruin your season. And I understand why that came into play, by all means. But like I said, overall, I do think it is a good compromise. Again, having watched, instead of watching The Clash, I watched a couple episodes of Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour because that's what they played. Mm-hmm. He said, hey, you fans asked for it. You're going to go back to hearing what you used to hear and didn't like, though, of, well, we didn't win, but it was a good points day. Because that is what's going to come about, because that's what's important now. So, as he said, don't be mad when you hear a driver say that. So, he's calling it like it is. Y'all asked for this. Don't complain when you get that answer.
Exactly right. And that's kind of where I'm at, too. I really feel like fans forget that we went to the system that we had because everybody was complaining about that system, and they wanted a different system where there was more value placed on winning. NASCAR gave them that. Now they don't like that. Again, unintended consequences. So that now we're going to revert back to what we had, which is the 10 race chase. And I remember the 10 race chase, and one of the unintended consequences of that is that we knew who the champion was going to be well before the end of the season. And it kind of took a lot of the excitement out of that process of crowning a champion. It kind of was anticlimactic. So I don't think, I know it's going to happen. We will have eliminations. There'll still be eliminations. They'll just be more organic, and there won't be as much highlight on who's being eliminated. It'll just be a comment at the end of the race that says these guys are out of reach now and won't be able to contend for the championship once they reach that point. But I remember in the playoffs, we were on the edge of our seat watching all the way to the end of the race to see who was going to make it into that next round. And to me, that's going to be a loss. That's going to take some of the excitement out of it. And you're right. The whole, we had a good points day, even though we didn't win. I think about Jimmy Johnson, who used to ride around in the back and then show up at the end, and how frustrating that was, because that's not what fans come to the racetrack to watch, is their favorite driver riding around at the back of the pack in order to avoid the big one, or in order to avoid any kind of confrontation, and save their car to be there at the end. When I go to a racetrack, I like to watch the guys racing up front and racing for that win, or racing for those stage points. I am glad they did not take away the stage points.
Agree.
Because that would have been really awful, because during the stages, you wouldn't have people racing up in front to get those points. So they would be resting on their laurels in the back.
Well, and with that, I think that was a game changer, and that was an individual race versus we're talking about a season here, just so people understand the stage racing. That was based on that same concept. You could be leading and running up front, and then with 50 laps to go have a problem and end up in the 30s or something, or dead last, even depending on how many cars are running. So what was your value for the day? Absolutely nothing. They tried to reward that you had a good race, you just didn't finish well. And so I feel like that was a very good system and compromise that they added in. I know a lot of fans didn't agree with that when it first came. I think they came to appreciate it. I know the drivers do. Like I said, you run good for 450 laps in the final lap, which that's why I said I was in favor of them going away from the one race championship winner take all. I get they were looking for that game 7 moment, as they like to call it. I don't know that we saw that really anyway, but the one thing, and I hate to use the individual, I know he's a good driver and a fan favorite, but the argument against it was Harrison Burton, 30th in points, wins a race at Daytona, and I applaud him, good on him. But for him to be in a shot for the championship, I get that, and that's why I said I was okay with them backing away from that aspect of it. But I also don't think it needs to go back to the full 36 race schedule.
Yes. So I agree with you. I think it was a good compromise. I know that there were some comments made that this year they stuck with the 16 drivers being in that 10 race chase because of obligations and sponsorships that had already been made for this season. But there is some talk that it's possible that they may go back to 10 or 12 drivers in future years.
And I cannot think of Kevin Harvick's co-host on Happy Hour, Mamba.
Mamba Smith.
There we go. Thank you. He made a good point of, okay, you're running in the teen area, let's say 14th, 15th, or 16th, and you do happen to get on a hot streak. With the way the points are going to be set up in the seeding, unless you are absolutely winning races in top 3, you're not going to go from 16th to winning that championship unless the top 2-3 teams have an absolute come apart. But you are going to be rewarded for a hot stretch at the end of the season. We think about that. We've seen that before of several teams that find their momentum mid-season and get on a good run. So you might go from 16th up to 5th or 4th, but your top 3, 4, 5 teams are going to be there. They're there for a reason every year, So I don't have that same fear of 16th seed going in, winning the championship, and I'm okay with them earning up to then 5th. So I'm okay with that. If they cut it down to 12 or 10, as you mentioned, again, I'm going to be okay with that because the top 10 are going to be the top 10 for a reason. That's the way it is. Going back to understanding why some people were upset. And Denny Hamlin, not my favorite driver, but he is one of, not only was he in the championship four, he dominated that race. A caution by another driver brought out the caution. It cost him the race, the championship. Connor Zilic in the Xfinity Series by far had the most dominant season and didn't win the championship. That's where I can understand where people are saying, hey, this system isn't right. I wouldn't say that because it is the way it is of a playoff format, but that is why I was okay with them adjusting it into whatever they come with, in this case, the chase, because there was some validity to that. Connor Zilic, his season was just absolutely phenomenal. Denny Hamlin's was very strong. In that particular case, the reason I supported that one was he dominated that race and something out, which is why I didn't like the one race deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I think it was Joey Logano. It might have been somebody else, but one of the drivers came out and said they don't really care what the playoff system is or what the system is. They just want to know what it's going to be because they will adapt to whatever the format is. And to the point that you were making, that all of the drivers, it'll be the same drivers that'll be up front when it comes down to the wire. If it comes down to the wire, I don't know if we've looked at the most recent points, if it was under this format. They do get 55 points now if they do get a win. So they upped the game there. They did put value on the win by giving them more points for the victory, which I thought was a good thing as well. Yeah, I can see what you're saying there too. But to me, it's like, if you think about college football, Ohio State was number 2 all year long, number 1 at times, I think, and yet they did not make it into the playoffs. They lost one of the big games, and they didn't make it. So it happens, but it will be nice to see. That is one of the benefits. It will be nice to see if somebody has really stood out for the season, for them to be able to get that championship at the end. So I can appreciate where they're coming from, but I'm sure Ohio State was devastated when they lost. Too.
And that's what I don't understand is why fans in other sports want that and thrive on that, and that underdog or upset, whatever. But when it comes to racing, they're like, no, there you got to count the whole season. I always think back to the Patriots going 18-0 into the Super Bowl and losing the Super Bowl. I'm like, that's tough to swallow. I mean, honestly,
it's very tough to swallow. So I kind of struggle with that too. Why do we accept it in other sports, but not in NASCAR? Those kind of moments. But I understand where people are coming from. It's not that I don't understand where they're coming from. I just think that we're going to lose something in the process of that, and that there was a reason why we went to the playoff format the way it was. And
Matt Kenseth, I'm sorry.
Huh?
I said Matt Kenseth.
Yes, Matt Kenseth, Mr. Consistency. Matt Kenseth they called it the Matt Kenseth chase when they first started it, because he was Mr. Consistency.
I think he only won 1 or 2 races. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I'm not even sure he won 1 race, but he was so consistent throughout the season. He had the most points without winning a race, and went on to win the championship. And if he did, it was 1 race. I don't think it was any more than 1. Yeah, look that up, Jay.
I am. Yep, I got you.
Look that up and let us know what you find out. But that's why they created. That's why all of this changed from the full season format, is because he was Mr. Consistency, and they wanted more of a value on the wins versus being just consistent. So,
and I think
fans react, because I agree with Kevin Harvick. Now that you've asked for this change, don't come up and start complaining when it doesn't give you what you were looking for.
All right, let me see if I got the right year. Yep, 2003. Let me see if I can find his stats.
Okay.
Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, he beat let's see, beat him by 90 points. Trying to find his stats for the year.
By 90 points?
That's what he ended up beating Jimmy Johnson by. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more than a race.
Well, now wait, back then, because back then it was what, 185 for winning a race. With all the bonus points, I think you could get up to 180. I'm trying to pull up and see if it'll tell me what his full results were for the year. Let's see.
Racing reference, maybe.
Oh, you know what? That's where I should have gone. Okay, one race. His only win came in the third race of the 36 race season. I couldn't remember if it was one or two. I knew it was really minimal.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was just the one win. So yeah, NASCAR tries to be responsive, and things do change, attitudes change, and everything else. So I get it. And they felt too. They did say, I did hear one NASCAR person say that they felt that maybe it had played its the playoff had it was time to make a change.
Right.
So,
and I get that. I get evolution. I understand that.
yes. And maybe we just ebb and flow with this, based on what people's attitudes are. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, and I think they did make the adjustment. You mentioned it under the new this point system now. It is 55 for the win and then 40 or 38 for second. So there is definitely that advantage to winning. It just doesn't guarantee you moving into the next round. But that goes back to Kevin Harvick's point. They're going to be racing for points, not wins necessarily.
Yes. And the drivers are going to adapt. Like, I think it was Joey Logano. Whatever the system is, they're going to adapt and do the best they can to win under that system. Now, do you want to move on to the next topic? I'll let you choose what our next topic is.
All right. Well, the other big one, and this was a relatively recent I guess it was Charlotte Motor Speedway that made the decision to go away from the Roval back to the oval track twice a year. This one was honestly a little bit surprising. And being that we're talking about the Chase and there's 10 races, I will say this, that was a road course in the Chase, which in my opinion, I think there should have still been a road course. But something else you said, maybe road course racing has kind of played itself out because we're down to only 3. We're back to the original 2 of Watkins Glen and Sonoma, unless that has a new name again now, but I believe it's Sonoma Raceway. And then the road course, which this year will be in San Diego, the street course. Those are the only 3 road courses on the schedule.
COTA.
Oh, you know what? Somebody lied to me. Somebody misquoted that then, because I read that somewhere. You're right. There should be 4. Maybe it was 3 and the street course. I'd have to find back what I read, but yeah, you're right. COTA is still one.
COTA is still one. I've got the schedule here. Well, and just to kind of play off of what you were saying there, what's kind of ironic is, remember, everybody hated the 1.5 mile tracks. They hated them. Cookie cutter tracks, they called them. And nobody liked that cookie cutter track. And so Chicago was taken off of the schedule, and the road courses were in, and the 1.5 mile tracks are out. Well, then they brought in the next gen car, and all of a sudden the next gen car performed really well on the 1.5 mile tracks. And now some of the best racing we watch are on 1.5 mile tracks. And now, everybody was absolutely loving the road courses. And now that's kind of ebbed back. And so we're reducing the number of road courses. Indy is now on its original track, and now we're talking about Charlotte Motor Speedway, leaving the Roval behind in favor of the Oval, which is a 1.5 mile track. And everybody raved about the Coca-Cola 600. So it will be a little bit different because the Coca-Cola 600 is the longest race of the season. That's an endurance race. And so even though it's not on the Roval, it will be a little bit different than the 600-mile race that they see in the spring. That it'll be, what, a 400-mile, I'm guessing, race.
I think there too. I think it used to be 600 and 500. I think it had gone to the Bank of America 400. I think they had already reduced it to 400. And I don't know if I saw on that of what it would be, 400. I don't know if you got a current one because the one that
the one I have, it probably says
would be the Roval.
Yeah, it does say the Roval. Yeah, so I don't know.
But that's one of those that you got to give it to them of adapting and evolution, because it was the next gen car that initially struggled on the 1.5, but they evolved to good racing. So again, I understand it. Am I in favor of it? That's kind of a tough call because, like you said, the 1.5 mile racing had become very good. But, and I say this, the Roval was unique and entertaining. And I was one that when they first announced that, I was like, you're on crack. I mean, I'm like, what kind of, my thing was, if we're going to go road course racing, do it on a road course. That was my biggest thing at that time. But I really didn't see the Roval as doable. I know we had the same question with the street course racing, and that worked out. But that too evolved. So, like you said, has it run its course as a road course? Ironically, maybe we'll see it come back. I know India's talked about that. Maybe they'll be back on the Brickyard. That one, I get. Again, the racing was rough. They had some issues, but I was glad to see that one at least because that one, the historic of the Brickyard itself. I didn't agree with them going to a Roval, but. The racing wasn't producing good viewership and results, so I understood it. I was glad to see them go back.
I was at the race where they were pitting every 10 laps to change.
I know we've talked about that. I got lucky. I was there the year before.
Yeah, it was like, what is going on here? So yeah, it's NASCAR adapting to what the fans are looking for, and that's the positive in all of this.
Absolutely. And
when somebody says that NASCAR doesn't listen to the fans, I disagree vehemently because NASCAR does. They may not 100% give you what you in particular want, but they do listen to all the fans and try to do the best they can. And you're right, Jay. You got to give them credit for doing that.
And that's where you got to take it with a grain of salt, because some fans were calling for him to race the Clash in the snow. That's just a bad idea, all right?
That is a bad idea.
I'm not the one paying the bills, but I'd feel bad for anybody even attempting that. It was kind of a wild hair.
Up in Canada.
Yeah, but they're built for that. They're designed for that. They practice that. It's not what NASCAR is designed for. We have made evolution. I know even coming up Wednesday, there's the possibility of rain. I see we got 4 viewers on here. Go ahead and jump in here. If you got comments, please share them.
Absolutely. We really want this to be interactive.
The evolution of the rain tire on shorter or road courses, again, that was an evolution. It took a long time. We've seen some that didn't go real well, and I think you mentioned Coda, the first one they did in the rain, and that was a hard rain. That was a bad decision. And they learned from it. They said, okay, that was too much. But if it's just sprinkled, the track is a little wet, we have the rain tires, or wet weather tires, sorry. Yeah, I was okay with that. Racing in the snow and ice, no, that's not, we're not there yet.
But-
I don't know if we ever will be.
And I think NASCAR is trying to adapt to weather situations too, because think of how many weather delays we've sat through, and they're making decisions more quickly so that fans can adapt, I think, which is really good. And by having a rain tire available for some of these races, I think it just really makes it a lot less wait time for fans and drivers and everybody involved. So we'll see. But ice, I agree. Ice and snow is not a good idea. I do remember one race a few years back where it snowed at Bristol Motor Speedway. And I think Kurt Busch won the race and did a snow angel.
The snow angel, yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick talked about that. He named three, one of which I didn't. I think he said a snowball fight. I want to say he said at Daytona. That one I don't remember, but I definitely remember the snow angel at Bristol by Kurt Busch.
Yes, yes. And did you watch the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction?
I did not. I totally forgot it was on. I did not catch that. No, I saw some highlights from it though.
Yeah, yeah, it was really kind of interesting. Okay. Anything more that you want to say on the Roval?
No, like I said, I'm not opposed to it, but I also enjoyed the Roval. So that's one of those of, again, I kind of got to go with SMI. They made a business decision, and I think it is a good one. As we mentioned, the evolution of the next gen car to producing good racing on the 1.5 miles. I really wish they would have a road course in the said 10 race chase, because again, it covers all aspects of racing. So I hate that we lost that.
Yeah, well, they say that one of the things is if you put in a road course in there, what are you going to take out to make room for the road course? And the easiest solution is the Roval.
Right.
Because it's the same track. So, and I'm with you. I like the Roval. I like the oval. So whichever direction it goes, I guess I'm okay with that. I like the road course racing.
I do too. And I mean, I did even back when it was only the two, that I always look forward to that. But back in that day of a lot of drivers and teams considered them throwaway races. It wasn't until how important points came that drivers, and I think Dale Earnhardt was one of them, that said, hey, we got to improve on our road course. We can't afford to throw away one race because it's making the championship that much harder to get to.
Yep, that's true. All right. How about we move on to, Bob Pockrass was talking about this, that Kyle Busch's contract with RCR ends at the end of this season. And everybody's already talking about what's that going to mean? Is he going to leave RCR? Is he going to move on to a different team? Is he going to retire? What are your thoughts there?
I don't know, because I don't know what Kyle Busch's thoughts are. I know he's probably not happy with the way RCR has been. RCR is not happy with where they've been. They've made some changes. Yes, Austin Dillon won some races. The format might help play into that, because RCR, specifically Kyle Busch, very rarely had a race winning car. And Kyle Busch has the talent to take a 15th place car and maybe get a top 5 out of it. However, that also bit him because he was trying really, really hard to do that, and it ended up with a 30th place car. So this kind of takes that pressure off of not having to overdrive the car. However, they still need to improve their performance. And I will say that. I know the sponsors are still backing him. Whether he goes somewhere else, I'll address that side of it. Where's he going to go? I mean, that was the whole thing when he left Joe Gibbs Racing. where's he going to go?
Well, that ties into another conversation, I guess, because they're saying that there are a number of drivers that their contracts are ending at the end of this season. I'll look it up here because Jason.
But are they top contending teams? And that's what he took that gamble and going to RCR. Thought it was out the gate. Thought it was going to be a new dynasty. He won 3 races in his first year with Richard Childress Racing. They came early in the season and then it just fell off. I know off the top of my head, I cannot think of his name. I want to say it's Pullman that they got from Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity Series as his crew chief now. So they're making changes. They're aware that they need to improve. Does he leave RCR? In my opinion, if the performance does not pick up, yes, he's gone. But like I said, where does he go? Even if there are other openings, I don't see him being top tier, ready to win teams. And so he's kind of in the same boat as he is with RCR, is he would have to endure the progress. So then you might as well stay at RCR. Retirement obviously is going to be a discussion. And that's where I said, I don't know where he stands on that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he hasn't really said everything I've heard him say. He said that he's planning to see it through with RCR, but things change. So you never know what could happen. There are a number of drivers. A lot of people are talking about Alex Bowman, Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar as being potential drivers that could be moving. Spire Motorsports, part of their whole thing is the old Kyle Busch Motorsports. They acquired a lot of the material. So there are some people who are talking about that being a possibility. So if one of these other drivers move up or move out, then that would open up some spots there. Alex Bowman, I feel sorry for that guy because every year his name comes up.
Right. Yeah, I would have certainly said that again. That's a possibility. Again, there is some history there with Kyle Busch and Hendrick Motorsports. Obviously, Kyle is a different driver now, without a doubt. So I wouldn't rule it out. I personally don't think Alex Bowman is going anywhere, but I'm in the losing or minority of that argument. The Spire Motorsports, again, you mentioned the connection there. That is a team that appears to be on the rise. We've seen that over the past 2 to 3 years. They brought in Michael McDowell as that veteran leader. If Kyle Busch were to leave RCR and Spire Motorsports were to continue to be on the uprise, I could see that being a spot where Kyle would go with the progression already happening, and hopefully he can jump in. However, I think they're pretty pleased with Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar and what they have going. And anytime you change something, you think you would have thought matching RCR with Kyle Busch was going to put him in the championship conversation, and it didn't. So you never know. But I could see Spire Motorsports being a spot where he would go. That was actually, if I recall, one of the possibilities when he left Joe Gibbs Racing. But that was when they were just starting to show glimpses of said progression, where you thought RCR was a little more established.
Yes, that's true. So I think it's pure speculation at this point because we haven't heard Kyle Busch chime in on any of this to the point that you've made. So we are truly in speculation mode with that one. And it's all based on the fact that his contract does expire at the end of this season. And last year, it seemed like some of those contracts we weren't hearing about until like toward the end. But, hopefully we'll hear something sooner rather than later.
Well, I will say this. We know Kyle Busch is a championship contending, championship driver, without a doubt. He is not happy with the performance. if they struggle through another year like they had, I would have to guess he either does hang it up or move somewhere else. But like I said, of where's he going to go that it's not a lateral or backwards move? And, there again, maybe this year another team comes out of nowhere, Colleague Racing, or again, there's the speculation of just to jump into that of them going to Dodge. That might be something that intrigues Kyle Busch. I don't know. I can't speak for him.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, along with that, though, are there any drivers that you see that are on the hot seat? I know a lot of people are talking about Connor Zilisch. How's he going to do in his rookie season in NASCAR? Other drivers that are, do you see any drivers that are on the hot seat this season?
Well, from my perspective, he should have already been, and I'm not going to bash on a driver, but to me, Austin Dillon has not lived up to what I expected. I guess I'll say that. Now, the fact that he is the one that has won a race, albeit the same track at Richmond, one in questionable situation, he has been at least winning. So we'll see there too. I really feel like maybe an RCR has a couple of drivers in development. Jesse Love coming off of the championship Xfinity Series program. Kind of thought maybe he'd move up, but they said Austin Dillon was going to be back in the car.
Mm-hmm. Austin
has taken on more of a leadership role within the organization as well as the outside of bull riding. Might be something to look at. Austin Hill is another one, whether you like him or not, agree with his driving style. I think he's got the talent, and kind of surprised he hasn't been moved up as well. But
where's he
is what
go?
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is a problem right now. A lot of these drivers don't have anywhere to go to move up. Daniel Suarez is going to be Inspire this year. And there's just not a lot of open seats right now. There might be some retirement announcements at the end of this season. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. Some people have brought up Noah Gragson, but I think Noah to me is hot or cold.
Right. And he's a favorite of mine. And I can't had high hopes for him. Again, I understand the cup level is the cup level for a reason. We look at Cole Custer. That's another one. Something didn't click. And right now, I think we saw a little improvement with Noah Gragson and that team. The lawsuit now behind him and everything else. We'll see how it goes. You're right. I think he may be one that would be, if you will, on the hot seat. Uh-oh.
Are you there?
Yep. I don't know what happened. It flashed, but looks like we're back. That Front Row Motorsports is another one as an organization. We saw John Hunter Nemechek come through there. Thought that was going to work out, and that was a one-year deal, and then he was gone. Michael McDowell showed they have the capability, and then he left. Todd Gilliland, very solid. Again, something, and it's just that one little thing that is just the missing element that nobody can put their finger on, because if they could, they would.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just hard to say who would be on the hot seat this year. And I really don't think Alex Bowman is on the hot seat. I really don't. And Hocevar, I think, we'll see what he does this year with Spire, but I don't think he was showing some really good signs last year. So I don't see him being on a hot seat or having a reason to go anywhere else. I don't know where else he would go.
That is one, though, that I see other teams looking at as far as long-term future, that they might lure him away from Spire Motorsports. And you mentioned it, of not having the seat available. It's not Corey LaJoie. Corey Heim. I mean, you're talking about one of the most dominant Truck Series drivers overall. you have to call a generational talent almost, and he doesn't have a full-time ride for the year, and that blows my mind.
Yeah, that really is amazing. That there's no place in the end for Corey Heim this year in the NASCAR Cup Series. He will race part time. It's not like we won't see him. I'm sure he'll be at the racetrack every weekend. But fans want to see Corey Heim on the racetrack. They want to see him racing and competing. And it's going to be a loss for him not to be in a full-time ride, I think, for this upcoming season.
I want to say he's scheduled for 4 Cup starts. I may be wrong on that, but I think it was only like 4 Cup starts, several Xfinity, and then a couple of trucks.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find anything on it. I'm looking at the team chart over here.
All right.
See if they say anything.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually had a published schedule or not, but somewhere I thought I read that of 4 Cup starts. I didn't think he is going to be back with Tricon for the trucks, and I want to say maybe the first one is Daytona.
Yeah,
I honestly didn't think he was going to be back in the truck with them.
I thought I heard he was going to be in a Cup car for Daytona.
Yeah, I think Daytona was both. That's why it surprised me he was going to do the trucks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it sounds like he's going to do both there. So yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling that there's no room left for some of these drivers to move up into the other sport, and that's part of why I think we're seeing some of these drivers like Harrison Burton and some of these other drivers that are moving into the Xfinity Series and doing all right there. Now, I want to mention too, and I meant to mention this at the beginning, the deal for the sale of AM Racing did not go through. Sigma Performance Services was supposed to buy out AM Racing, and AM Racing was going to kind of move on to the other series. And it turns out that deal was not finalized, and therefore AM Racing has said that they are coming back to the Xfinity Series for this next season. So I'm really glad to hear that.
Well, I am, as far as them being in the Xfinity Series. You know, that was one of those of you mentioned it, of the ownership side. That's kind of taken a different perspective, unfortunately, of, you know, and I understand part of its evolution, the money, again, the charter system and the Cup Series plays into that, but we're losing that of true race teams, if you will, and race owners. You know, a lot of times, and there are still some of, you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Junior Motorsports of that, but it's all about money, you know, and that was one of those, unfortunately, they thought they had that locked up and didn't pan out. I do hope the best for them. They were another one that I thought you saw the progression in the team, albeit maybe not going from 15th to winning races. You know, they were up top 5 and contending, you know, and that's, in this day and age, it's do it and do it now. You know, you don't have that development time.
Yep. Now, Patrick Starpoli is going to be racing in the number 48 Big Machine Racing team. So Nick Sanchez is out and Patrick Starpoli is in.
That's when I am
full-time ride.
Right, and I'm happy for Dr. Starpoli.
Yes.
But I just, there again, we don't know the inside details, but Nick Sanchez, one of a star on the rise, how that happens. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it just boggles your mind, doesn't it? I was trying to look and see where Nick Sanchez is going to be next season. Of course, we know too that Colleague Racing, the number 10, the number 11, and the number 16 are not going to be back in the Xfinity Series. They are now racing full-time in the Truck Series with the Ram trucks.
Well, and as much as I hate that for the Xfinity Series, I don't know if you saw it. The number 10, Daniel Dye, back in the Truck Series, has the Mopar paint scheme on it. It looks sweet. I think going back to Ted Musgrave, Casey Kane had that paint scheme for a while. I love that Mopar paint scheme.
Yep, it's back. It is,
and I've always liked Daniel Dye, so.
Have they announced Nick Sanchez?
I do not recall seeing him get a deal done elsewhere.
Yeah, because I'm going through here. I'm not finding him anywhere on the list. And that's a loss for this sport because Nick Sanchez is a good driver as well.
That's one of those, like I said, don't know the exact circumstances. Sharon and I have a long history of NASCAR racing. Go back to Casey Atwood. You know, he got one shot at it, disappeared, and it was such a shame. Just up and disappeared.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers that you do see that with sometimes, and it makes me sad. He may show up on the short track series this year, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Or even in the truck series, that would be good. What's your next hot topic you want to talk about?
Well, we have one where week to week we may not know who's in a truck, and that is College Racing's fifth Dodge Ram, the race for the seat. You and I, Sharon, talked about this. I'm obviously a big Dodge fan. I get it. It's a marketing thing and an intrigue thing. As a race fan, I'm like, I want to know who's in the truck. If you're selling tickets to see, they've already announced Tony Stewart for Daytona. Yeah, why you would not advertise that more than a week out? But I'm sure somewhere in marketing they said, hey, this works. We knew it was going to be a rotation of drivers, kind of an all-star truck, if you will. And certainly they're starting out with the all-star of Tony Stewart. But yeah, the whole week to week, I'm not a big fan of it. But like I said, I guess if they think they got attention, and that's what they're doing as far as that. I get that. It was a marketing thing. Hope it works for them.
Yeah. Well, and the whole race for the seat, unfortunately, some word has gotten out. I know who didn't make it. I don't know who did make it for that race for the seat. But they're only airing those episodes now. That's something that happened back in October, actually. I wish they would have aired it back in October. And we already knew who was going to be in that seat.
Well, and that's why I said they put it together as a whole marketing package. I can't think of what was Jack Roush's The Gong Show. Isn't that where Greg Biffle actually came from? Was The Gong Show?
I don't know if he came from there or not. I heard Jack Roush or somebody from Roush Racing found him up in Washington State and then brought him in. But I'm not sure. I don't remember too much about the Gong Show.
It was the same type of thing of drivers competing for. I think at that time, because Carl Edwards was handing out business cards.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember some of the other drivers that came through Roush, but yeah, it was a similar aspect to that. And with the, like you said, the streaming now, which is I imagine where that's happening at. I get it. It's a marketing thing. I get it. Like I said, I'm just not a fan of it, but I'm not a fan of streaming platforms either. So.
Yeah. And I'm all about the streaming platform. So.
Right.
I like the streaming.
And that's where I said back when, the 5 races that they do on Amazon, I am personally against it, but if it's for the better of the sport, yeah.
I'll tell you, they had some of the best coverage.
And they did, and I don't dispute that. Again, I'm just not a fan of the streaming. But all these other things, the shows they have, am I watching them? No. But if it is getting attention and bringing in sponsors and fans and everything else, I'm good. You know, I'm not against it.
Right.
Just not
I
my
just
cup of
wish
tea.
they hadn't waited. I think it would have been a good thing to do over the off season to have that race for the seat, so that when the season started, you already know who's going to be in there.
And that's the side of that I am on. Of I wish I knew who and when and where. Again, if it's my favorite driver, I want to know when I can go see him. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly right. And there were what, 15 drivers that were competing for that seat?
I don't know if I ever saw where the total, but yeah. Like I said, they're trying something different. You can't fault them for that.
And I guess there's going to be some changes in the booth at Fox. Have you seen anything on that? That's something that came out today or
No, I
Monday.
hadn't.
That is today.
Yeah, I was going to say now you'd mess me up because I was like, I thought today was Monday. No, I have
Yeah,
not
today.
seen that. What you got there?
Okay, changes for the broadcast booth. Monday, let's see. The 26th NASCAR Truck Series season, Jamie Little, who served as the series play-by-play announcer in 25, will return this season, but in a shared role. Little will be on call alongside Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano for the February 13th season opener at Daytona. From there, she'll share play-by-play duties with Eric Brennan and Brent Stover. It's a call up for Brennan and Stover, who both have experience calling races in the ARCA Menard series. So she's going to share duties with those other two people. So let's see. And Little is the first and only female play-by-play announcer in NASCAR, and will call the season opener from Daytona, with analysis from Harvick and three-time Cup Series champion Joey Logano. Josh Sims and Mamba Smith and veteran broadcaster Amanda Busick report from pit road at the Daytona race, and veteran motorsports announcers Eric Brennan and Brett Stover will handle the play-by-play duties.
Okay, like I said, I hadn't heard that. And Sharon, if you got your finger ready, if you got to mute me, so be it. This is one of those where fans piss me off. I don't know why fans were so against her in the booth, just like they are Lee Diffie on NBC. And if that is why they're making this change, shame on them.
Yes.
All right, I kept it clean.
You did well, but I agree with you. This is, she's evolving into a new role. And I wish they would give her a little more. She has made some mistakes, I will say that. But
So have I.
yeah, so have I. So have other broadcasters. So I don't get it why they're so hard on her. Lehigh Diffie, I think, is really good, and I don't understand why they have such a hard time with him at all. Other than he's got a little bit of an accent, but he still does a really good job. I have no problem understanding what he's saying in the booth.
It's different. That's the only answer you can give, is it's different and people want to complain. And this is one of those where I have the utmost respect for Dave Moody, because when people call into his show and they talk about him, for the most part, Moody lets them speak their piece. There's been a couple where he said, hey, you're being unruly and name calling isn't necessary and whatnot, that he's cut them off. But he lets them express their opinion, no matter how much he disagrees with it, and will 100% defend it. And like I said, I applaud NBC for not pulling the plug just because of some fans' verbal opposition.
Right. And sometimes some of them do get a little overboard with their commentary. It's not necessary to say degrading remarks. You may not like their commentary. I've got announcers that I haven't cared for, but I'm not going to degrade them. And they did not mention Michael Waltrip in that booth. So that was a little bit of a surprise. So I guess he's out.
That's what I was trying to think of who the other one for the truck series. I guess, yeah, it would have been Michael Waltrip. But, and there too, you mentioned him coming up from the ARCA series. I know we went through this with Daryl Waltrip of are they past their prime where they don't that far removed from the car. I think there's still a role for Michael Waltrip. I know you're not necessarily a big fan of the grid walk. I like it. I always liked what's his name from NBC then, Rutledge Wood. Yeah, I understand Clint Boyer, and I see where some people have that view of they're a little over the top, but I think a small mix of that is good. Are there some that have gone over? Yeah, I get it, but with Jamie Little and Lee Diffie, they didn't do anything like you said of
Right.
over the top or out of line by any means. That's what I don't understand. If you're against, say, Michael Waltrip and his antics, I can see that. I don't agree with it, but I could at least see
it. He
it.
toned himself down, though, too.
I think some of that did come from the viewer feedback. But like I said, the grid walk, I think, is unique. Maybe it's because I'm in that position of when I get on camera, I'll be goofy and I don't care, of that. Were there some of the things that went a little over the top? Yeah, maybe so, but I don't see the reason to cry out and, like you said, attack or bash.
My main complaint, and this goes back a few years, I don't hear it as much now as I did a few years ago, was when on the Fox broadcast, so many of them were promoting themselves on the broadcast versus reporting what was going on, throughout the weekend of the race. It was about self-promotion, and I definitely had a problem with that.
And I'm with you on that. I understand that, and I will use my dad. I won't use the driver, but there's one particular driver he does not like to listen to for that reason. They said he'll do an interview with somebody, and you don't even know anything about the person he interviewed because he's still talking about himself.
Yep. It's kind of sad. But yeah, I wish they would focus on the driver instead of themselves. And so I'm glad those days are past us. I will just say that. Okay, anything else you want to make sure we mention here? I will say there was the one-day testing that was supposed to be, or there was some testing that was supposed to be taking place at Rockingham. That too was postponed. That's going to be on Friday and will be a one-day test instead of a two-day test.
Okay, I didn't know when it had gotten moved to. I knew it had been postponed.
Yeah, that was postponed to Friday. And then, did you hear this? Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch are going to be racing in IROC in April.
Yeah, that's one of those of obviously being a Gordon fan of, Kurt Busch, his career unfortunately cut short just to be able to get back out. And I've been in favor of this I know it's not what we were used to with the old IROC series, but to see that revitalized to some extent. I know it's kind of been a couple of years in the making. Again, I'm all for it, especially for some drivers like Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch that I think are still capable of racing. Maybe not the 36 NASCAR season grind to be able to go out and do that. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so that race is the at the 10/10 circuit in Concord, North Carolina, and will be the Heritage Invitational. It actually runs April 9th through the 11th, but the IROC race is going to be on April the 10th. So if you want to mark your calendars now for that, that is something that we can look forward to. Looking at my other notes that I had down here. I don't know a lot about this. Do you know about a shakeup at JGR at the top?
No, I only caught bits and pieces. Again, I've not been on Sirius XM as much as I was throughout last season. There was talk because I think it was again a lot of what I got was just watching not watching the Clash, but whatever NASCAR stuff was on, revolving around Chris Gabehart, and I knew he had moved up to a managerial position. I don't have any exact details on that, but I think it involved or pertained to him as well.
Oh, okay. And I know Heather Gibbs has been more actively involved as well.
Might have to save that one until next week when we get some more information.
Yeah, we might have to save on that one. So, Jay, I know this is highly premature, but I'm going to throw it out there. Any early predictions on who the chase winner is going to be?
The chase winner? Come on now. There again, with the change to the chase format, and again, I'm kind of leaning off of Kevin Harvick and Mamba talking about it. You got your excuse me, hold on a second. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
the consistent drivers, that's what we're looking at now of going back to that. Ryan Blaney, barring any engine failures. Yeah, I knew you'd like that one. Chase Elliott. Again, we haven't seen him have multiple race wins, but the consistency, they kind of put a downplay on this might hurt Kyle Larson because, again, he's a let it hang out, either win checkers or wreckers. But Joey Logano has had that image as well, but he too is one that if it's a 10th place car, he gets 5th with it. That the chase format is going to kind of elevate them a little bit more. And then Denny Hamlin, you got to, again, with the season he had, if you can maintain that, and that's right up his wheelhouse of consistent week in and week out. And I understand their question on Kyle Larson, because there too, I think they showed a stat on where he ranked with DNFs over, I think it was 5 seasons. Yeah, that when you're talking about a points accumulation, that's going to hurt a driver like Kyle Larson.
Yeah. I do think Denny Hamlin may be on a mission this year to win a championship.
Well, he was on a mission last year, and he was so close.
Yes, and he was very close. But I think it could go the other way as well. He's dealing with a lot of emotional things that are going on right now. And that could take a toll on him as well. So I'm not sure yet about Denny Hamlin. I definitely think he wants to go after that championship.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
No doubt about that. It's just whether or not, with all the stress and everything that he's dealing with, how that's going to play out. I agree with you. I think Ryan Blaney is a very pretty much consistent driver. Chase Elliott, another consistent driver. William Byron, I think, is a good driver.
That was another one. Yep.
I think he was a hit or miss though too.
He would go in streaks. He has a tendency to come out the gate strong and then fade and then kind of come back. So
yeah. I'm wondering about Trackhouse Racing, how they're going to perform this year. I'd love to see Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain back in the mix and really competing at a higher level.
And that was one where they talked about you got to give them the speed week in and week out, such as RCR and Kyle Busch of the same thing.
Yes. That consistency has to happen at the shop as well as with the drivers.
Right.
So exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm just talking about some of the drivers. Hocevar, if he can tone himself down, and I think he's showing some signs of doing that. And I'm not talking about not losing the will to win and going after it, but learning how to manage that in a more adult kind of way. I think that he's going to be someone to contend with as well. I'm hoping Tyler Reddick has a better season. I'm anxious to see what happens at Legacy Motorsports this season, because I think they're making some strides.
That was another, as an organization, talk about that of progression of kind of thought it would have been a little bit quicker and bigger. But certainly you saw it at least of slowly but surely. We saw a little bit more advancement from, say, Spire Motorsports. And I say with Toyota as the backing and Jimmy Johnson, yeah, I would have thought it would have been a little bit more. But we'll have to wait and see. But you're right. I think they were right on that verge of being. I know they had a stretch where both cars, John Hunter Nemechek as well as Eric Jones, were finishing in the top 10 for several weeks in a row. So to be able to put that together in bigger race stretches.
And I'm anxious to see what Connor Zilic does this year. He did so well in the ARCA Menard series. He did really well in the Xfinity series last year. And I know that this next-gen car is a whole different animal for them to adapt to and get used to. But if anybody can do it, I would think it's got to be Connor Zilic, who has the discipline and really has the maturity way beyond his years, that I think he might do better than people think.
Well, and being that you mentioned him, the one that looking at that breakout year, I know we talk about Chase Elliott, the 100 starts 3 years in, that would be Ty Gibbs. And we thought he really was close the year before. Last year kind of fell off. I'm not going to say slacked off. Fell off for whatever the reason. I know there too, there was some
a little bit of controversy.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the right word, of maybe some disagreement with management. Hopefully they can get that worked out, because he too was right there on that edge of, is this the breakout year?
Right. So I think we've got a lot to look forward to, but I think the early contenders would have to be all the ones that we talked about. And I'm hoping it's not a runaway year where somebody goes out and just runs away with it this season.
Right.
I hope we have those exciting moments throughout the season and throughout the chase as well.
Well, and I know they compared that, and we've talked about it several times. When you talk about the chase format, 2011 was really the only one that comes to people's minds in history as far as that. Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards.
Yes.
Will we see that? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Right. Well, and that was with Tony Stewart winning 5 of the 10 races.
Yes. Remember, Tony Stewart went into that season saying, we don't belong here.
Yep.
We haven't been running that great. And then he went in to win 5 of 10 races.
And with that, they had determined that Darian Grubb was gone the following year. Yes. That was his crew chief at the time. And with that, they went out and won 5 out of the 10 and the championship.
Yes, indeed. So I hope it would be maybe fun to watch something like that again. I don't know. I know how heartbreaking it was for Carl Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was the year that he quit.
No, he quit the year, what was it, Joey Logano? Because that was the championship 4 at Homestead.
Okay.
Joey, because that was one where Jimmy Johnson shouldn't have won that championship, if you will. Joey and Carl were battling and wrecked out. Jimmy was running like 7th or 8th and was 3rd out of the championship 4. But I still think that was the wreck that really scared Carl.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if scared is the right word, but made him reevaluate and just
caused him to sit back and take another look.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to the season. I hope we have another in-season challenge. I haven't heard anything.
Oh, that's right. You had brought that up, and I haven't heard or seen anything on that. I hope so. Again, for what it was, and I know it's somebody else's word, was it a gimmick? Yes. Did it add something? And I think it didn't hurt anything. I guess is my biggest thing, and I thought it was entertaining.
I
By all
thought it was
means,
entertaining. It did not hurt anything.
you
And
know.
it helped to kind of market the new broadcasting partners that were coming
Yep.
on board.
Yeah, I thought it did its job well. And again, was it, true racing? Ty Dillon ended up in the championship just by survival of not wrecking. When you're going head to head against one driver, if they have a problem, you advance. But that's part of it, And I get you don't want your championship to be a race championship to be determined that way. I fully agree with that. But for what it was an in-season tournament, absolutely was thrilling.
Yeah, I thought it was fun to watch. Okay, and it was something different,
Right?
with the bracket
Yep.
and all of that. I think we're ready to wind down. I don't have any more notes. How about you?
No, I think we had covered all the ones we had prepped and maybe a little bit more even.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that are going on here at FAM for Racing so that you know what to watch for coming for more. Today's Monday, so in a couple of days, we're going to watch the Clash at the
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
At Bowman Gray. Hopefully, there won't be any more weather. So definitely looking forward to that. Jay and I will be doing previews later that night, but we'll certainly have a little bit to say about what happened in the Clash during that as well. So we'll review that as well as, and it'll be a brief review, probably about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll get into all of our previews.
Back to the grind, just like the race season, they're getting warmed up. This was our warm-up week, if you will. The week from Monday is our hot topics again, and then we are into the preview session, so that'll kick it off full bore for the season.
And then Sal this year is going to focus on interviews. So our plan is to do interviews on Tuesday and probably publish those on Tuesday or Wednesday. Taz is back. He is going to be doing the fantasy report on Friday mornings for the NASCAR Cup Series. And so he and I are going to continue that. And then Race Chat Live is coming over to Fan for Racing Radio from 110 Nation. And that is with Taz and Chris Crichton, along with whoever their guest is going to be. This last week it was CJ. I think that might be a regular guest on
so,
the
yeah.
Race Chat Live. And Jay and I are going to do the hot topics. We may discuss some of the same topics, but we're going to kind of do it in two separate episodes. It's hard to get 5 people to talk about hot topics. I think it's better to have 2 or 3 people doing that versus trying to get 5 people on here to do it. So breaking it up that way, I think is a good way to go.
Yeah, I know I only was able to catch like the last 10 minutes of their show, their initial show the other night. I know they were having a good time. They had popcorn and everything, but they had a good time, and that crew, I think they've worked together for many, many years. So glad to see they had a good time and are here with us at Fan for Racing.
Yes, one of the things I heard from them is that they missed doing that show together. And so they were really looking forward to doing it together again. And afterward, I got messages about how much fun they had. So that is something to look forward to. They will be on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central time. And then Jay and I come on after that to do our recordings for our previews for the weekend. And then Jay and I will always be at 8:15 on Monday nights. So you've got 2 different hot topic discussions.
About the masked man
Whoops.
who attacked Ron Breaker at the Royal Rumble.
So there's going to be 2 separate, news topic discussions between Jay and myself on Mondays and between Chris and Taz and CJ on Wednesdays. So 2 live shows this year.
Love to see that. And I noticed, we didn't quite hit the 100 mark through last year here on YouTube of the first year. We're at 96. So again, see some people watching as we wrap up. Let your friends know. We'll share it around and get over that 100 mark. And again, please jump in with your comments. We would love to hear from the fans.
Yeah, I missed All Sports All Day tonight. He usually is the one that comes in and has lots of comments to share with us. But we're always looking for anybody who's willing to interact with us. Don't be shy. We're a pretty friendly group. And we're okay with sharing an opposing position as long as you do it respectfully without name calling or bashing or anything like that. If you keep it on a professional level, we're all good. So, but we want to hear an opposing view because Jay and I tend to agree a lot.
Well, that's right. I forgot. I was supposed to disagree with you more tonight. My bad.
Well, I was thinking about changing the name to Counterpoint or something like that.
Yeah.
Where, you take the first topic and then I counterpoint your view, and then you take the next copy, and then I counterpoint your view.
Well, I think we both kind of did that on a lot of the topics. We were of at least acknowledging the other side, whether we agreed with it or not. So I think we do a good job of that. But yeah, we certainly do want to hear from the fans. If you disagree, please let me know. You wouldn't be the first to disagree with me. Sometimes or the last, right? Thank you, Sharon. You are correct. You will not be the last. I promise that. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's via video, so it's not like we can bite you or anything. No.
No. We would never do that. We enjoy the interaction. We're passionate about being NASCAR fans. We know you are passionate. A lot of you are very passionate about being NASCAR fans. And so we value other people's opinions. So feel free. Like I say, as long as you're not bashing, as long as you are being respectful, we're all good with it. So we appreciate that. So I do want to say thank you for watching. We always appreciate people tuning in to hear what we have to say. And Jay, I think we're going to finish a little bit ahead of schedule.
All right. Well, I know we started earlier tonight, so that was, not quite 2 hours. Kind of covered the off season. Really can't wait to get into the season here. Unfortunately, again, weather. Honestly, though, they showed that, and I didn't realize that they did not have any weather delays last year. I think they said it was like a year and a half or something. But yeah, all of last year there were no weather delays, postponements. There was delays. Yeah. There we go. You're right. Delays, yes, but no postponements was the key part.
Nothing moved. And part of that is because they brought rain tires to some of those
tracks. Right. You're right. Yep, absolutely.
So I think that NASCAR is trying to minimize how many postponements there are. So looking forward to the new year. Thank you for being here. Those of you that were tuning in tonight, those of you that are listening to the replay. And I did put some shorts out. I finally put some shorts out from the Race Chat Live. There are 3 shorts that were out. They've gotten pretty good views. So I'll probably do the same thing here. And I would say what you can anticipate this year for our Hot Topic Sound Off is that it's probably going to run anywhere from about an hour and a half to maybe a full 2 hours. We're going to try to stop it, though, at 2 hours. If not,
we have a tendency to start fading if not.
Yes, if not. So, yeah. That's one of the reasons why we're starting a little bit earlier. We're not doing reviews this year. The reviews are going to be tied in with the previews. So with each preview, we'll do a quick review of the previous race. Okay, so I think I covered it all.
All right, looking forward to it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, See you in the next video, everybody. Take care.